Hello and welcome to Conversations on your favorite channel, Yeeaaah. This is a special show and we're going live to all our viewers across the globe. Now, we're going to discuss a particular topic, which is currently being debated, discussed across different social strata. Cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is a reality. Cyberbullying, is it a time pass or is it a social evil? We have two gorgeous women on either sides to discuss this in detail. And on my right, I have consulting psychologist and a former lawyer, Mrs. Shaarika Menon from Trivandrum. Shaarika, welcome to Conversations.
And Hi, Sujil. Thank you so much for having me.
And on my left, we have India's first lady cybercrime investigator, Pattathil Dhanya Menon. Dhanya, welcome to Conversations.
Thank you.
Now, let me start with Shaarika, the psychologist. Now, cyberbullying, is it a time pass for people or is it a social evil? What is your take on it? Your opening statement on it.
Definitely, it is a social evil because the kind of psychological impact it has on people and their personalities and how what we see a lot of studies saying is that cyberbullying happens a lot at the teenage level, at the adolescent level. So the kind of the impact of the life events that it has on them, just the repercussions of bullying has now cyberbullying, which has a farther reach than the physical bullying or the other sort of bullying that happens face to face in schools. It has a far-reaching impact on the personalities, on their psychological well-being. It increases depression and stress and overall understanding of their self-worth, and the impact on their self-esteem and the way they grow up into adults, and what gets carried on later on. So, and then there is the perpetrator, the psychological, the personality effects of the perpetrators, which also can lead to antisocial behavior with antisocial personalities, which can in turn snowball into a real social problem. So it is a social evil at many levels. And if you feel it is a time pass, for many at the superficial level, it may feel like a time pass, but it is much deeper than that, because it is through this that many people try and portray, it is a kind of aggression that people externalize. There is an internalizing of emotions and there's an externalizing of emotions. And the perpetrators, the bullies, the ones who commit the cyberbullying, they are the ones who externalize this kind of aggression. And that is not just time pass. It has much further meaning in it. A lot of people brush it off as harmless. I was just making fun of it. I was just making light of it. And I was just making, I was just kidding. And not everything is in the ambit of the kidding part, because it has, because we are talking about cyberbullying and because it is a larger ambit, there are more people viewing it. It is a permanent footprint that is left on a public domain. People can have repeated views of it. And then there are people who view, while there is an act of bullying happening in school or at workplace, then it is a one-to-one, and perhaps there are a couple of witnesses around. But on a social media domain, on a public domain, sometimes the same people who are witnessing also become perpetrators while they carry over. They carry on the messages, they carry on these comments, they share it, they pass it on, they talk about it, they add their comments. So the repercussions that happen, the effect of it that happens is much more than just to be put into the framework of just mere time pass. So I think, yes, it is an absolute, you cannot relegate it to just a time pass, and it is definitely a huge social evil.
A social evil. Let me come to the criminal side, the legal repercussions. Dhanya, what is your take on it? What is it you feel in terms of the legal aspects of cyberbullying? Is it actual crime? ആ ക്രൈം ആണെങ്കിൽ തന്നെ ഇത് ഏത് വകുപ്പിലാണ് പെടുന്നത്?
Cyberbullying is absolutely a crime. Bullying per se itself is a crime, so there's no, it goes without saying that if it's cyberbullying also, it is a crime only. And I'm really thankful that at least we are getting an opportunity to talk about it now. At least now, 12 കൊല്ലമായി ഈ ഒരു വിഷയത്തിനെ കുറിച്ച് പല രീതിയിൽ സംസാരിക്കാൻ ശ്രമിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരാളാണ് ഞാൻ, through my profession or through my interactions or wherever I've been given an opportunity. But ഇതിനകത്ത് legal aspect എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, again, what kind of bullying അനുസരിച്ചിട്ട് IT Act sections, everything will be different. But definitely from impersonating one person impersonating on the cyber platform as somebody else, it starts right from there. And you can see that this cyberbullying goes manifold in the sense, like how Dr. Shaarika said, it is just not about somebody feeling angry about some X and then just putting it online and finishing it off. No. If I have something against somebody and I put it online, it gets shared or liked, or the audience is much more. And it goes without saying that if once you're on the internet, forever you're on the internet. There's no 100% deletion on the internet. So once there is some content online put on somebody, it is forever to be there only, no matter what happens. So then how do you get rid of the whole thing? This definitely is something which everybody should talk about, everybody should be aware about, and should really think of ways and means to stop this. There's a very thin margin between.
What are the provisions of law?
That's why I said the sections in the IT Act will differ according to what sort of comments we are putting on it, or what sort of vocabulary or what kind of pictures that we are putting there. If there is a sexual content, then it is 67B. If there's only impersonation, then that it is 66C. And if it is fake identity and impersonation, 66B comes in. If there's a fraud that happens because of such a thing where there's somebody else, somebody puts up a profile in my name or comes up with an ID in my name and impersonates being me and defraud somebody. Defrauding could be financial or material or emotional or physical, in any way. So depending on all such things, the sections will keep on changing. There's no particular section which says cyberbullying, this is the section applicable. No, it depends on what kind of cyberbullying.
Now, let me take you to a video produced by a young actress who was subjected to heavy cyberbullying these days. I don't want to get into the merits of what she said. I want to get into certain portions of the video which she produced on social media. Let us have that video.
Cyberbullying എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വളരെ വലിയൊരു വിഷയമാണ്. ഇതിന്റെ താഴെ there are different kinds of cyberbullying, from cyber stalking to pretending to be somebody else to trolling to hacking. It's a very, very wide arena.
Yes.
Can we have that video once again? Now, yeah, you've seen the video. Now you've seen the different aspects of cyberbullying, which he has very categorically mentioned. Now, look at it from that point of view. ആ പറഞ്ഞ സാധനങ്ങൾ, ഈ പറയുന്ന ഇതിന്റെ ഒരു ക്രിമിനൽ എലിമെന്റ് എന്താണ്? ഇത് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആളുകൾക്ക് അവർക്ക് അതിന്റെ ബോധ്യമുണ്ടോ, അതോ ഇതൊരു മോബ് ഒരു ഫീച്ചർ ആണോ? I want to talk to you to Shaarika on this. Shaarika, is it a mob psychology? ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ പണ്ടും കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ, ഒരു ആൾക്കൂട്ടം വഴിയിൽ അപ്പൊ ചോദിച്ചു എന്താണ്, പുറകെ വരുന്ന ആള് ചോദിക്കുക എന്താ അവിടെ നടക്കുന്നത്? അത് ഒരാളെ അവിടെ ഒരു മരത്തിൽ കെട്ടിയിട്ടിട്ട് ബാക്കിയുള്ളവരെല്ലാം കൂടെ തല്ലുക. അതെന്താ കാര്യം? അത് അയാള് മോഷ്ടിച്ചു എന്ന് പേര് പറയുന്നു. ആരോ പറഞ്ഞു അയാൾ എന്തോ മോഷ്ടിച്ചു. ആണോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് നോക്കട്ടെ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഈ ആള് കയറിച്ചില്ലെന്ന്. അവിടെ ചെന്ന് ഇയാൾ എന്താണെന്ന് പോലും ചോദിക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് 2 ഇടി ഇയാളുടെ വകയിൽ. എന്നിട്ട് പോകുമ്പം ഇയാൾ വേറൊരാള് മീറ്റ് ചെയ്യും. ഇയാളോട് ചോദിക്കുന്നു എന്താ അവിടെ നടക്കുന്നത്? അയ്യോ അതെനിക്കറിയില്ല എന്താ നടക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ നിങ്ങൾ പോയി 2 തല്ലിയതോ? അതിന് ഇയാൾക്ക് ഉത്തരവില്ല. സോ ഇതൊരു മോബ് മെന്റാലിറ്റി അല്ലേ. ഒരാൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടാത്ത തരത്തിലുള്ള, അതൊരു പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ സാധനമാവാം, സോഷ്യൽ ആവാം, എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു സബ്ജക്റ്റ് ആവാം. അതിന് ഡിഫറൻസ് ഓഫ് ഒപ്പീനിയൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സംഭവം ആർക്കും എപ്പോൾ വേണമെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടാവും. നമ്മളെല്ലാം ഡിഫറെന്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ആളുകളാണ്. നമ്മളെല്ലാം വ്യത്യസ്തമായ ജീവിത സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ നിന്ന് വരുന്ന ആളുകൾ, വ്യത്യസ്തമായ അക്കാഡമിക് ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ടിൽ നിന്ന് വരുന്ന ആളുകൾ, വ്യത്യസ്തമായ ജോഗ്രഫികളിൽ നിന്ന് വരുന്ന ആളുകൾ. നമ്മൾക്ക് വ്യക്തമായിട്ടുള്ള ധാരണകൾ ഉണ്ടാവും, ചില കാര്യങ്ങളിൽ വ്യക്തമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒപ്പീനിയൻസ് ഉണ്ടാവും, ചില കാര്യങ്ങളിൽ വ്യക്തമായ ധാരണകൾ ഉണ്ടാവത്തില്ല. അപ്പൊ വ്യക്തമായ ധാരണകൾ, നമ്മൾക്കുള്ള ധാരണ അത് മറ്റൊരുവന്റേതാവണമെന്നും മറ്റൊരാളുടെ ധാരണ നമ്മളുടേതാവണമെന്നും ശഠിക്കുന്നത്, അത് ശരിക്കും ഒരു തരത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു മാനസിക ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടല്ലേ? ശാരിക മേനോൻ.
മാനസിക പ്രശ്നം എന്ന് പറയുന്നതിന്റെ ഒന്ന്, അത് when you lack empathy and when you don't want to give the other persons the space. അപ്പം നമ്മളുടെ ഒരു വലിയ ഒരു ഇഷ്യൂ ഇതിൽ ഉള്ളത് എന്താന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇൻഹിബിഷൻ ലൂസ് ചെയ്യുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ഇവിടെ പലവരും ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് നോട്ട് ജസ്റ്റ് ദി കോമന്റ്സ്. വെൻ യു സേ സൈബർ ബുള്ളിങ്, അവിടെ ഒരു പോസ്റ്റിന്റെ അടിയിൽ ചെന്നിരുന്ന കമന്റ്സ് ഇടുന്നത് മാത്രമല്ല സൈബർ ബുള്ളിങ്, അല്ലെ? സംടൈംസ് ഈവൻ ഐഡന്റിറ്റി സ്നാച്ചിങ് വരെ സൈബർ ബുള്ളിങ്ങിന്റെ ഭാഗം തന്നെയാണ്. ഇമെയിൽസ് ആൻഡ് SMS and everything that comes along with it. But mostly if you want to talk about why ipo social media idoru charchayavunathu is because a celebrity has been attacked on a certain political call. There was a certain political color of a post which was perhaps just of that people took offense to. Apum aa kutti she may have a person may have given her opinion based on what she thought was right or wrong. പക്ഷെ ഈ മോബ് മെന്റാലിറ്റി എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സാധാരണ ഒരു ക്രൗഡ് സൈക്കോളജിയില്, മോബ് മെന്റാലിറ്റിയില് ഏറ്റവും വരുന്നത് എന്താന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ യു ബിക്കം പാർട്ട് ഓഫ് എ ഗ്രൂപ്പ്. അവിടെ നമ്മള് ഇൻഡിവിജ്വാലിറ്റി നമുക്ക് അവിടെ നഷ്ടപ്പെടുകയാണ്. So when that happens, even if when you're alone, you may not do that when you're alone. When you come into a mob, when you get into a group of people, then whatever the group is doing, you tend to, in that impulsiveness, in that excitement, also tend to join it and add to it. Like endayalum itrayum vere cheyyunnundu pinne njanum kude idilekku maram. Appo most of the mob mentality ulla salathe they will have a particular kind of unison on the kind of belief system that they have. Appo adu political ആയിരിക്കാം, religious ആയിരിക്കാം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഏതെങ്കിലും തരത്തിലുള്ള ഒരു കോമൺ ആയിട്ടുള്ള എലിമെന്റ് which binds them together ഉണ്ടാവും. Apum mostly what I see about mob creating, sort of a group bullying happening, is when there is a certain element of a belief system that has been poked, or let's say has been violated according to some imagined way. It need not be. Somebody may have taken an offense, an imagined offense to something, and a third person may have reacted to it. So is cyberbullying the more if you can actually pinpoint it, it is a kind of electronic aggression, right? So it is sort of an aggressive behavior which people tend to form because there is a possibility of them being able to mute their or hide their identity. So they are more disinhibited about it. If nobody knows me, if I have a mask on, if people can't see who I am, then I need not have the moral values that I may society may force on me otherwise. So I'm free to do as I please and say what I may please. And to hurt the other person becomes much easier because you are hidden, you have a mask on, you are disinhibited, and then it becomes easier. And there is also a tendency to cross the line, to go beyond a certain line, because you cannot see the emotional impact it is having on the other person, because you cannot view it. So I think the mob mentality, like you asked, happens when there is a common cause. So mostly if it is political or it is religious or it pertains to a certain group that more of the people that belong to, one of them will carry a certain portion of this message, concoct it, turn it into something else, give it another color and then publish it. Then what happens is that then you attract your clan. You're supposedly, so these people also do this to feel a little more accepted, a little more relevant and valuable, and perhaps to stand out and say that, hey, I'm standing up for this. So and the more the people support them, their self-boosted value and the self-esteem that they have on themselves, adu korchum kude brighten avana. So they do this for a lot many causes.
Now, to take a cue from what you said, that moral values, adu namukku samrakshikkapadanda avashyamilla ennu thonunna oru avastha. ആ ഒരു അവസ്ഥയിൽ നിന്നും law of the land, നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യത്തിന്റെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മളുടെ സമൂഹത്തിന് നിയമപരമായി അനുവദിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള ചില സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട്, അറ്റ് ദ സെയിം ടൈം ചില നിയമങ്ങളുണ്ട്. ആ നിയമങ്ങൾ വെച്ചിട്ട് അക്കോർഡിംഗ് ടു ദോസ് ലോസ് ഓഫ് ദ ലാൻഡ്, ഈ പബ്ലിക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ തന്നെയല്ലേ പറയുന്നത് ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് ആക്ച്വലി mob lynching അല്ലേ? ഇതിൽ പറഞ്ഞാൽ അത് തന്നെയല്ലേ ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞത്? What is legal repercussion on this, or legal recourse in that?
Sujil, I lost some bits of what you said. I'm just assuming that you asked me whether it is mob lynching. Correct? No, I can't hear you. Okay, the legal aspect of whatever Dr. Shaarika said, the thin margin is between having being opinionated, and letting others also have that opinion. So it's just a simple logic that your freedom ends at my nose tip. Basic understanding, and you do to others what you can accept from others. Otherwise, don't do what these things. These are simple layman things that everybody needs to understand. And for me, according to my experience, the cases have been far and many where individuals are being harassed or bullied without any political or any kind of celebrity class. But unfortunately, people talk about it. It becomes viral, or it becomes a point of discussion only if there is a political aura, a celebrity color given to it. Otherwise, it is like anybody hitting anybody. It's just common man's worry.
Isn't it legally punishable? ഈ മോബ് ലിഞ്ചിങ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നതിന്റെ അതിന്റെ ലീഗൽ ഇമ്പാക്ട് എന്താണ്? ഈ പറയുന്ന ആളുകൾ, അതായത് a celebrity or an individual or anyone for that matter, he or she posts some message on a social media handle. It could be an Instagram, it could be Facebook, it could be LinkedIn, it could be anything for that matter. അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്താൽ, when 10 people come and abuse this person for being vocal about his or her own thought, what is it tantamount to? It tantamounts to abuse, aggression.
It amounts to a violation of privacy. It amounts to abuse. It amounts to absolutely threatening. It could go on to the extent of being scared of living. See, if somebody puts a comment against me, I have the right to go and appeal to the law saying that I am being harassed or I am being bullied. So angana oru petition kodukum, it starts from there. It starts from the individual trying to understand, yes, this is the line that I am allowing anybody else to trespass. No, if somebody tries to cross that line, I'm not going to entertain that. So it starts from that identification.
So where does the law take you from there? Sorry for butting in.
Yeah, from there, it definitely it requires that the police takes an FIR, takes a complaint. But unfortunately, we don't see that happening much. But I have given a complaint to the police when somebody tried to put something abusive about me on a social media handle, and it took me humongous trouble to get a FIR registered. Okay. Because they said, they refuted my case saying that it will not be, there is no substantial evidence to it. And then finally I had to go to the court and then get an FIR registered. By then the time had just gone by where, the possibility of retrieving the evidence is almost lost. So there's a lot of things which law enforcement authorities have to take the first call. One word against me and I complain and there is evidence to it, the punishment starts from 3 years.
3 years imprisonment.
3 years of imprisonment and 2 lakhs penalty minimum. So this is what the law says.
Now 3 years imprisonment and penalty. Yes. That is what you attract for Shaarika. Coming back to Shaarika, ആളുകൾക്ക് ഇത് അറിയാഞ്ഞിട്ടാണോ ഇത്? Is it because people don't know that there is a there is a legal implication എന്നുള്ളത് അറിയാഞ്ഞിട്ടാണോ, അതോ ഈ ഒരു വലിയ സംഘം ആളുകളുടെ സപ്പോർട്ട് നമ്മൾക്കുണ്ട് എന്നുള്ള ധാരണയിൽ അവരത് അതിന്റെ ധൈര്യത്തിൽ അവര് മുന്നോട്ട് പോകുന്നതാണ്? എന്താണ് ഇതിന്റെ പുറകിൽ? വാട്ട് ഇസ് ദ സൈക്കോളജിക്കൽ വേവ് ബിഹൈൻഡ്?
I think ഒരു general impression ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, despite like Dhanya ma'am had said, this is a fundamental right that people twist to their advantage. They feel that to be able to say what they can say, or avരുടെ fundamental speech that they constitute, they feel that it is an absolute right. Like as ma'am said, it stops at where the other person's nose begins. So the other mansilakatha reethiyilana, but yes, it has been underreported. Statistics say that India has reported the most number of cases of cyberbullying. About 37% of parents have reported that at some level the children have been cyberbullied, and it is over and above the US and the Brazil. So India, Brazil, US and the Brazil are the countries which are on the top level of cyberbullying, and this is what has been happening. So India is at a stage where, maybe because most people, we are a more populated country, and we have more access to the internet now, but this is more to do with the adults and the young adults level. I'm not sure if this covers the entire population, but more or less cyberbullying happens most in India. That is what statistics say. There is an echo, Sujil. I'm unable to hear properly.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can hear you.
Please continue.
So the one thing is that people are not aware of their rights in this arena. They feel that because you're on a public space, everything you say is for public consumption, and your personal rights are blurred. So when you're at home, that there are certain things that should not be done to you. So that there are laws protecting you. But many people don't know whatever happens if something is derogatory. And there are a lot of things that lines are blurred where people don't know what is derogatory anymore. They sort of feel that a lot of things are accepted, especially with children. What I see and learn, because I work with a lot of adolescents and young adults who have been cyberbullied, what happens with them is that they even fail to tell or take this to their parents because they fear that the social media will be taken away from them. So what happens is that they'd rather suffer the negative effects of all this rather than have to take the burden of being disconnected. Because the young alkar enda cheynennu vechale, their entire life is around social media now. They feel accepted, which is what the basic psychology of anybody is, to want to be accepted and want to be liked. And there is a bloated sense of self-being, especially because of social media. There are narcissistic values that has been boosted to a certain level. That is okay, as long as it doesn't debilitate you, or you don't turn harmful to anybody else. A little bit of narcissism is okay, because that seems like a lot of motivation too. That helps in your self-motivation, to keep yourself motivated and all that. But what we see is the negative impacts of these things that happen, where when your right has been infringed upon, when somebody speaks derogatory to you, you feel powerless. You feel powerless against it because you feel bullied. So there is a certain amount of awareness that needs to be created, so that the prevention and tackling and to deal with such things can be taught to the parents, to the children, and to young adults, and even to adults at many levels. So there is a certain way that men behave, boys behave, and girls behave, men behave, and women behave when it comes to bullying. So bullying is not something that only men do. In cyberbullying, many ways women do it too. But there is a same-sex thing that happens. Men do it by sexting, more of sexual overtones in their the way that they perpetrate. Women do it more by setting up rumors, calling out names, passing on fake things and information. This is what women do basically. So I think it is because there is not much awareness, and then there is a fear behind it. There is a fear of retaliation. There is a fear that they may be cut out from the group. At the end of it, they want to fit in. So they're scared that, if you sort of, you want to give your opinion, but you also fear the retaliation that comes ahead, but you don't know where the lines are clearly drawn. It's so blurred that you don't know how to protect yourself. And one thing I really want to add to this is that in bullying, which is not acceptable anyways, but in bullying, when it happens in workspace, സ്കൂളുകളിലോ നമ്മളുടെ സ്ഥാപനങ്ങളിലോ വർക്ക് സ്പേസിലോ ഒക്കെ നടക്കുന്ന തരത്തിലുള്ള ബുള്ളിങ് ഒരു പക്ഷേ നമുക്കൊരു ലിമിറ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. ആ സ്പേസിൽ നിന്ന് ഇറങ്ങിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ വീടുകളിൽ നമ്മൾ സുരക്ഷിതരാണ്. പക്ഷെ സൈബർ ബുള്ളിങ് നടക്കുമ്പോൾ എന്താ സംഭവിക്കുന്നതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ 24 മണിക്കൂറും നമ്മുടെ വീടുകളിൽ തന്നെ നമ്മൾ ബുള്ളിഡ് ആവുകയാണ്. So the kind of psychological impact it leaves on people, where the symptoms of depression, of somatic disorders, psychological the psychological effects that it has, orkam shariyavada pova, you feel low self-esteem, you have a lot of self-doubt, body image issues. So there are a lot of these things that happen, but you really don't know where to stop. So I think that is where it is very imperative that policymakers do something about it, where they really tightened the like ma'am said, even she couldn't get an FIR done. So you think about hapless younger people or the other people who go, because you really have to the evidence needs to be pulled out, and you have to show that something really has happened. And then somebody might just trivialize it and say that, ഇത് ഇത്രയല്ലേ ഉള്ളൂ, ഇത് ഇത്ര വലിയ കാര്യമാക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമുണ്ടോ? ഇത് നമ്മളുടെ നാടിന്റെ തന്നെ ഒരു കുഴപ്പമാണ്, വേർ നമ്മൾ പല ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള പ്രശ്നത്തിനെ പോലും ട്രിവിയലൈസ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് ഇത് ഇത്രയല്ലേ ഉള്ളൂ, അതങ്ങ് വിട്ടേക്കൂ എന്ന് ഒരു പക്ഷേ പോലീസ് സ്റ്റേഷനിൽ പോലും നമ്മളെ ഡിസ്കറേജ് ചെയ്ത് വിട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോകുന്ന സാഹചര്യമുണ്ട്. സോ യു ഡോണ്ട് ഫീൽ പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റഡ്. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് വേർ at many levels. Yes, Sujil.
Yeah, you don't feel protected. Now, is it the problem of the people, or is it the problem of the legal system that we have? Now, to Dhanya, don't we have enough laws here? So Dhanya പോലൊരു ലീഡിംഗ് സൈബർ ക്രൈം ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേറ്റർക്ക് പോലും ഒരു പോലീസ് സ്റ്റേഷനിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഇഷ്യൂ വന്നപ്പോൾ അതിന് ഒരു ആഡിക്വറ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ലീഗൽ റിക്കോഴ്സ് കിട്ടിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇതെന്താണ് what is the result? What is the reason? Is it because we don't have adequate laws, or is it because the law enforcement machinery doesn't know how to interpret these laws, or is it just plain negligence saying that these are trivial?
Okay, I would definitely not agree if you say there are no laws in place. The laws are very strong, and it is more misuse than use. In the case, there's pure negligence, there's no doubt about it. And you should understand that the law enforcement authorities and the system humans. So they also need to understand it is not lack of knowledge or lack of updation for the people in the at least not in Kerala. I will not agree for that, because they have been trained from 2008 onwards, and there have been always review programs that are happening on cyber law and cyber crimes and all, which are happening on regular intervals in Kerala Police. So when these things are happening, it is not lack of knowledge, but definitely, yes, they just decide this is not important enough. See, in my case, what was asked is that, madam photo on the ittitillalo, abusive itla photo, which means, explicit itla photos on the ittitillalo. So only if a female is physically exposed, only then it needs to be taken as abuse. Why don't you leave it? So when you say something against me, if it hurts me as a person, and my professional life, if it scares me to go and earn my daily livelihood, if it hurts my self-respect and self-esteem, it still is a crime. I don't know if there's a lot of negligence in that part. I definitely would say it is a lot of negligence. It's a lot of overlooking kind of a thing which everybody very conveniently does it, you know. Ipo enike oru wreath ende peril oru wreath and office inde mumbil oru divasam kondannu vekkana. Oh, nothing happened. You're not physically harmed. You're okay. So the law actually, I think the people who are in the law enforcement system, they will wait till something physically happens to me and not react towards somebody keep bringing out the wreath to me. Because they say, oh, that's all. But it actually stopped, or it went on as a mental harassment for people at my home, because I'm a person who always travels. So till I get back home, I leave my house and I get back home, my mother is in a panic situation, or at least those times she was in a panic situation. Till, you know, all of us learn to get over every shock that we get in our life. So all these things are there. I would definitely attribute it to the negligence.
Now, Dhanya Menon, you're a cybercrime investigator. And if you come across these situations, ഇപ്പൊ ധന്യക്കെതിരെ, ധന്യ ഒരു നാടറിയുന്ന, ഇന്ത്യ മുഴുവൻ അറിയുന്ന പ്രസിഡൻഷ്യൽ അവാർഡ് മേടിച്ച ഒരു സൈബർ ക്രൈം ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേറ്ററാണ്. ധന്യയെ പോലെ ഒരാൾക്ക് ഇത് ഫേസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടി വരുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ സാധാരണക്കാരന് ഈ നാട്ടിൽ ഇത് കേരളത്തിന്റെ മാത്രം ഒരു ഇഷ്യൂ അല്ല. ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് എ പ്രോബ്ലം ഓഫ് അവർ കൺട്രി, ഓർ ഇസ് ഇറ്റ് എ പ്രോബ്ലം ഓഫ് അവർ സൊസൈറ്റി?
സുജിൽ, ഇന്നത്തെ ന്യൂസ് കണ്ടിരുന്നോ? Sri Amitabh Bachchan is being harassed online. And he's a well-known figure. At least ഞാനൊരു കേരളത്തിലും മൂലയിലോ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരാളാണ്.
അതെ, correct.
See, people.
That brings me to a national level question. This is not an issue with one state or a region. It is an issue with our society. Is it because we have this false sense of freedom? Is it because we are as a democracy, we have a false sense of our level rights, our freedom? Adano endana idinte porayil? You know, I
agree that there is a false sense of
Dhanya,
there is definitely a false sense of freedom that some individuals perceive their sense of freedom as something much larger or much higher than the others in the society. Then there's something else which they think, you know, that on the cyberspace there's a lot of anonymity that they get. Like how Dr. Shaarika said, I will not be figured out. I will not be found out. If somebody asks the same person to come and stand in front of me and call me the same names that they did online, they will not. They will think 200 times, but they'll not open their mouth. Even if they have the same feeling towards me, they will not open their mouth in, you know, face to face. But on the cyberspace, they find it more convenient because they feel their identity is not exposed. They'll not be exposed and they'll not be reached out. So definitely, I feel at least people like us.
It's also a crime, you know, faking a profile. That's impersonation. What are the laws? Impersonation, the laws and them. What does a person, you know? Pardon me?
3 years, Section 66C, identity theft, 3 years imprisonment and 2 lakhs penalty. It starts from there. Hello.
Sujil, we are losing out on you.
No, I lost your voice.
We are forced to. Can you hear me, Dhanya?
No, I lost your voice, Sujil. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. Now, let me just rephrase this question. Now, is this an issue with only celebrities? I have seen complaints coming from even normal people, you know, sadharanakarku.
No. It is not a problem that only celebrities face. It's a problem which every person faces today. Anybody faces. If you are somebody who has a presence on social media, you're prone to bullying. That could be as minute. Yes.
So that means, should we start advertising on the legal implications? നമുക്കൊരു ഡിസ്ക്ലെയിമർ എല്ലാവരുടെയും പ്രൊഫൈലിൽ ഒരു ഡിസ്ക്ലെയിമർ വേണം. I have my rights. I know my rights. എന്റെ റൂൾസും എന്റെ റൈറ്റ്സും എന്റെ അവകാശങ്ങളും എനിക്ക് ഉത്തമ ബോധ്യമുണ്ട്. ആ അവകാശങ്ങളുടെ സപ്പോർട്ടിലാണ് ഞാൻ ഈ അഭിപ്രായം എഴുതുന്നത്. ഈ അഭിപ്രായത്തിനെതിരെ ആർക്കെങ്കിലും എതിരഭിപ്രായം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ വളരെയധികം നല്ല രീതിയിൽ എന്റെ പേജിൽ റെസ്പോണ്ട് ചെയ്യാം. പക്ഷെ എനിക്കെതിരെയോ എന്റെ അഭിപ്രായത്തിനെതിരെയോ വ്യക്തിപരമായിട്ടോ എന്നെ ഇൻസൾട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന തരത്തിലോ എന്തെങ്കിലും അഭിപ്രായം ഇട്ടാൽ ഐ ഹാവ് ദ റൈറ്റ് ടു ഗോ ലീഗൽ എന്ന ഡിസ്ക്ലെയിമർ നമ്മൾ ഓരോ പോസ്റ്റിലും ഇടേണ്ടി വരുന്ന ഒരു കാലഘട്ടത്തിലേക്കാണോ നമ്മൾ വരുന്നത്? Shaarika, what is this happening to our society? I'm sure it is not just a concern for our small state. It's a concern of the so-called civil society. Are we actually being civil? നമ്മൾ സിവിൽ ആണോ, അതോ നമ്മൾ ഒരു പ്രാകൃതമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പ്രിമിറ്റീവ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സമീപനമല്ലേ? ഒരാൾക്ക് ഒരു അഭിപ്രായം പറയാനുള്ള അവകാശമില്ല ഈ നാട്ടിൽ. We are bound by fundamental rights and a constitution that guarantees equal rights to every citizen of our country. But where are we? Where are we now? Where have we landed?
I know. The thing is that because I used to be a lawyer before, law never leaves me, So law is something that I do. But then because Dhanya ma'am is here talking about it, I don't want to tread there. The thing is that, are we civil? We are expected to be civil. There is a social framework. As citizens, we are all expected to be civil. But the end of it, why do murders happen? Why do rapes happen? Why do anything that is a crime that happens? So there is a certain kind of psychology is something that I would like to talk about there. There is social constructs to it. There is a brain involved in it, and then brain which is influenced sufficiently by the environment that people are brought up in, the kind of homes that they live in, the kind of experiences that people have. All these things have a deep impact on their behavior at the end of it. So these behaviors can be, while children are growing up. ഇതൊരു ഹാൻഡ് ഹോൾഡിങ് ആയിരിക്കണം. വെനെതർ നമ്മളൊരു സൊസൈറ്റിയുടെ ഒരു ഈവിൾ ആയിട്ട് തന്നെ നമ്മൾ സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ എവിടെയൊക്കെയാണ് സംഭവിക്കുന്നത്? ഫാമിലി, our society, the legal, the political, the judiciary, everything has to work side by side as it would in any sort of crime or any sort of constructs that happen in the society or with all of us. So cyberbullying is not something that only the celebrities go through. Yes, because they are so-called public figures, we take it for granted that they are asking for this, and anything and everything to do with them is also public. So they feel that they have the ownership to throw a stone or ഒരു ചെരുപ്പ് എറിയാനുള്ള എൻ്റെ കയ്യിൽ ആ പവർ ഉണ്ട്, because I am the one who made you. There are people who think that in the success of a certain person എന്റെയും കൂടെ ഒരു കോൺട്രിബ്യൂഷൻ ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ എന്ത് പറയുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് they are very vulnerable. The celebrities and public figures are more vulnerable and susceptible to sort of bullying, in the sense that people carry over, and then that gets surpassed to many people, like identity snatching and the impersonation that we were talking about. All those things happen perhaps because that gets more reach, more people watch it. So these bullies who at the end of it want acceptance, who want attention, who have a sort of insecurity, organic insecurity in them, but who also have a concocted and pumped up version of self-esteem that they hide in, and they are more shame prone. So the shame prone in the sense that have a very, very short value for shame. So they want to hide this. So the best way of wanting to hide this is to make somebody else, to shame someone else, so that you hide yours. The anxiety and the fear you have that you may get shamed, it's sort of projected on somebody else. So when you attack someone else, you are actually playing on their shame. So yours is protected, you are making somebody else exposed to this. So there is an element of character, there is an element of personality, there is an element of parenting to some level, and the environment that they're brought up in. So there is definitely a psychological effect and an impact. And one thing that I need to say is that do bullies just stay bullies? No, they don't. There are a lot of bullies that turn into victims also. There is a form of a vicious circle, the victim bully circle that they form and they play on, because there is a retaliation. And then when there's a retaliation, then there is another set of people who come and bully the person. So there are some people who don't bully and stay away totally. There are people who only bully. There are some people who bully and are the victims. So you have to break it into these things. And this is not just something that you can say that, society, we are looking at a social evil like we started the conversation with. It is a social evil. These are human beings with human minds and human brains. And as long as they have personalities that they're working with, and they have maladaptive ways of coping with it, maladaptive coping strategies of dealing with this, and they don't get proper help, I think this is going to snowball. So the victims need help, the perpetrators need help, and if these two sections are not going to be helped, then this is going to be a bigger social problem for us.
I understand. Coming to Dhanya. Now, Dhanya, you faced so much of scenarios in your career as a cyber investigator or criminal investigator. Tell us some of these instances that you have come across, wherein we can exchange notes in terms of what has happened with some of your clients.
Like, I have issues which starts from children as young as standard 4 or even 3, I think, and up to 64. Okay. So I have issues like that where people from the family, within the family itself, have posted something online and then done it. And a very interesting case that I dealt with last year is that where a 9th standard girl, pictured herself and impersonated one boy's ID and started posting her own pictures online. As if it is the boy. So the boy was actually penalized. The question is, why can't he love me, a 9th standard girl? So, I mean, there are so many things when you come to it. I don't know why they do it, because I'm really away from the psychological part of it. Though I do
let us go back to Shaarika to decode that. Shaarika, how does that kind of a scenario happen? ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു സംഭവം ഒരു കൊച്ചുകുട്ടി, 9th standard student എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ she's hardly a teenager. Is it because are we a society who are facing who are perennially sick in the mind? Is it because we are overexposed to a lot of things in the world? Is it because there is information explosion around us?
Definitely. I agree to the term information explosion.
Yeah, there is.
Or as parents, they should be limiting the exposure levels to their children. Is it a social responsibility of the parents also? What is happening? Can you decode this?
Of course.
This sounds like a scary scenario.
It is very scary, because reports and the studies that happen, it has, when you read things, and my personal experience as a therapist with young adults and adolescents, it's very, very scary. I have children, I have young adults, who have anxiety issues, who have insomnia, who have self-esteem issues, who have body image issues, all because of the cyberbullying that happens online many times. So see, എല്ലാത്തിനും ഏതിനും പേരൻസിന്റെ തലയിൽ വെച്ച് കൊടുക്കുന്നത് നമ്മളുടെ ഒരു സ്വഭാവമായി മാറുകയാണ്, especially psychologistsകളുടെ ഒക്കെ. Yes, parenting is very important. How we parent is also kind of legacy that we transfer from one generation to another. I don't refute any of that, but yes, parents need to be aware, and that is why I feel that parents need that kind of support to be aware, because many of the parents in their generation, this is new. They are just dealing with these things. Most of them don't know the technology. They don't know how to stop and put the keys. They don't know how to put the filters or blocking systems of how to filter away the harmful things that can come. So the children need to be aware of the things that they can. So there is a certain kind of education that needs to be given against malpractice and bad use of social media. And like ma'am was talking about, a 9th grader to be able to do that. I don't think there is anything surprising, because what happens is bullying happens from the age of, perhaps 5 or 6, all the way up. It even happens in workplaces. Sexual harassment is another way of it, another word for it. So this goes on. So it happens at a very, very young age. The more they are prone to, because their acceptance, this happens, the one thing, they are so vulnerable that social media happens to them at an age where there is the maximum peer pressure. They want to fit in. So there is this teenage, when they are trying to make sense of their they are half adults. They think they are adults. They are no more a child. That difficult situation, that difficult age when the hormones are ticking, the brain is not totally developed, and they're thinking from the the emotional part of their brain. So when these things happen, they're still trying to figure out. This is the time when they use social media the most. So it is about fitting in. It is about being accepted the most. The more people there is this version that the more people that follow you, then the better you feel about yourself. The more likes you get, the more people are there who you have followers, or the kind of acceptance that you get. You have a certain belief about yourself. So this is boosting. People who don't have it feel that I'm not good enough. So the child who wants the attention of a boy will work in ways that can hit him the hardest. This is a kind of retaliation. This is revenge seeking. So so this revenge seeking is in a certain, you have found new ways of revenge. The more high tech the world goes, the more the world is becoming a smaller place now. So what happens is that the chances of you tipping on somebody else's toe is much more. So I think you need, I still would like to reiterate and impress on this, that you need awareness more on the psychological and the legal aspects. Many people don't know that there are stringent laws. Yes, we do have very stringent laws, but unfortunately the kind of execution it happens at is percolates down to where it is doable, where people use it. How do you get to this? How do the police station take up these cases? So the kind of fear that is attached to it, the kind of entanglement, the legal entanglement people think in their brains. So if it can be lightened, if it can be made more friendly for as many people to come out and say that, yes, I have been bullied, or there is a certain kind of rupture that has happened to my personal space. And I think more voices will come, more voices of dissent against bullying. We will hear more of it as days as days pass by. But I think the rest of the judiciary and the law and the policy making and the school systems and how psychologically we support them, all these things also need to support it effectively for it to make any change.
I understand. Now coming to Dhanya, bullying happens all around the place. It is just not restricted to women alone. I have had a personal experience where a lady became very abusive, regardless of the fact that she was being questioned in a very sophisticated manner without using any kind of expletives. Now, does it happen only with women, or have you come across cases where women have bullied men?
Yeah, actually, the case that I mentioned just now is also not related to a girl. It was actually a boy was actually being bullied in that case also. Okay. And I think there is something about the way how we train ourselves, or even our next generation. It's just considered fashionable to use X and Y terminologies when you speak, irrespective of the fact whether you know the meaning or not. It is just considered fashionable. So I think one major point that all of us need to inculcate in the next coming generations is that irrespective of whoever you are, one should learn to stand up for themselves. They become the heroes or the heroines, not not exactly doing the superhuman things on screen or anything like that. They should be able to stand up for themselves and be able to speak for themselves, which I don't see in my career. If I say I get about 100 calls for bullying, honestly speaking, 10 would come to meet me with evidence. So 90 is gone with just a phone call or with just an inquiry on the WhatsApp or email. Out of the 10 that come in, I cannot even say one will approach law enforcement. They don't. They will still shy away or move away from that scenario and say, okay, let's give.
Why? Is it because the legal recourse? Is it because the legal recourse is a long drawn affair, or is it because they just don't want to be part of the headache? They just don't want to go beyond that. Then why are they approaching you?
See, approaching me, one thing, the people who come to visit me, the first question is, the first statement they say is, we don't want anyone else to know about this. We want you to handle it. So in spite of the fact that they've been slapped, I have to sit and cry.
I know, I understand.
So I have to tell them, see, I cannot do it. I can only assist you or help you or guide you. There's nothing more I can do. If you need to fill your stomach, you need to eat yourself. So this is the statement I tell everybody. And now, yes, because of the long drawn process that the law takes, and of course the system has its lacunas, that is why nobody wants to go there also. And I'm definitely telling you, I keep telling the people who come and consult me also, I tell them it is not easy. It is not like the snap of the fingers or you press a button on your screen and there you get a complete download of information. It's not like that. The legal process is going to take time. It is going to take a lot of effort. It takes a lot of mental and physical strength to fight for it. So unless you're prepared for it, don't get into it, because you'll be even more depressed than what you are today. Then you want to give one more chance, you give one more chance, get hit more, prepare yourself, and then come. That makes it easier for people like me to handle people who come to me also. It becomes much easier for me, actually.
I understand. Dhanya, but unlike other crimes, isn't collection of evidence in a cyber case much more easier than a physical crime? Because it's all there. It's all there for you to get into the different levels of security and break it open and collect all evidence and then move the law. So why is the law taking a long time?
Absolutely. See, collection of evidence is quite simple on the digital platform. But the time that is taken in the legal framework basically is the first phase of it. When the person who is a victim understands and is ready to take the course of action, that is again a long drawn process. When the client is ready and prepares it and goes to the police, then the police to register a complaint and to then understand the and value the evidence that the client is ready to give it to the police, that takes a even longer period. Unless an FIR is filed, how do you collect the evidence? The FIR filing doesn't happen about 99% of the time.
Now, how about creating systems wherein the victim can file an FIR with all the evidence that is easily available online? For example, you send an abusive message on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Even if you delete the post, you can still get all those posts back. Using the latest state-of-the-art systems that are available with the state security with people like Dhanya Menon. Now, that is something
it's not required that I have to be there. Our Kerala police and the high-tech cell, they're all well equipped with that. I would definitely say people in the front end should have that kind of an attitude to take up a complaint. First thing. Second thing is that when it comes to the online registration of complaints, there are portals available on an all India basis also even now. But the question is, see, I can also fake all these digital evidences and post it online. I can also do that. See, anybody who comes in as a victim. Hello.
Yeah. Please continue.
So if I'm tech savvy or somebody, I can just frame out something and put it online. So there definitely is a guideline on how to save your evidence, how to protect your evidence, how to present your evidence in the court of in front of the police station. Beyond that, how does the evidence get collected? All that, there is a protocol which is laid out very strong and very clearly. But unfortunately, this, and definitely if there is a criminal complaint, there has to be an, there should be somebody who will take up the onus of saying, I am troubled, I am in trouble, or I am hit, so I need a recourse. So there should be a complainant. So let's take up that. If somebody comes up with that, then there has to be this legal framework who will take up this responsibility of filing the complaint judiciously and then taking it forward. I think, at least a few cases which comes up to the kind of arrest or kind of inquest, gathering of gadgets from the accused, people will be a little more careful and doing this.
Now, how about naming and shaming these individuals? Like the Western world, where there are lists, public lists produced, offenders, sexual offenders list, child sex offenders list. Idakka available on, and even in economic offenses, you have the Better Business Bureau in the United States, where if you want to deal with a company, you go to this particular list and you find out where their whereabouts. Similarly, don't you think, or is it against the psychological aspect of the whole thing? Because I remember Shaarika talking about some of these offenders. They are not perpetual offenders. They could be, they could be changed men or changed people after a certain point of time. Is there a hope there, Shaarika? Is there hope?
Of course, I would never say that there is never hope. Of course, there is hope if the environment can be changed and there's a certain kind of, help that can be given to them at the right time. But somehow, bullying has been, and many studies, has turned into a precursor for future antisocial behavior. It has been a predictor of definite future antisocial behavior. So if you know, and antisocial behavior is not something that you can, it's very difficult to find out when you're children. So most of the time it arises like a conduct disorder or a conduct issue where they have problems with their peers or the children or at home, behavioral issues. And then sort of it proceeds, if it has been left unchecked or unhelped, then perhaps it takes to a bigger level of maladaptiveness and behavior issues. So that is something that we do need to understand, that children need to be helped, and for that parents again need to keep their eyes peeled. They need to understand where you see behavioral changes in children, either the perpetrator or the victim. When you see that a child is going through a certain kind of behavioral change, then I think the parents must seek help. Most of the times, we see that parents, just brush it aside and perhaps may not take it as seriously as they should. But if you see that your child do not show the kind of interest that the child has been showing for some time, the child shows disinterest in going to school, or as soon as it finishes an online session or whatever, maybe, spend some time with the phone or with the laptop and spending some time online, and then the child gets sad or depressed immediately after that. They show signs of withdrawal. There is changes in the sleep pattern, the food habits. Any of these things happen, I think the child must be confronted and the parents must be able to intervene at the right time. But if you're going to be finger pointing and if you're going to overreact, then the child may not open up to you. So it is very important the way that you deal with it and promise them and assure them that the repercussions are not going to be where the child is going to get punished again for being victimized. So what they, like I have said before, I mentioned before, the biggest issue with them is that they do not want to be disconnected. So even because their entire world is the social world, and because of which they tolerate a lot of negativity, no matter from where it comes from. So these kind of things we need to pay attention to. And they may look trivial, but I think even when a perpetrator, when you feel that a child behaves, if it is a child who is prone to bullying others, how he's performing at school. Does he have friends? What is the relationship that he has with his peers and his parents and his relatives and his close people, with his teachers? What do the teachers say about him? The teachers need to get to keep a better focus on these on the children, to pull out for any sort of bullying, because most of the things happen and it sort of gets open, word gets passed on, because there is a community that they form. A lot of them are bullied by people that they know. Mostly that's what happens. Some of them, of course, do have fake IDs and sort of bully you from a hidden point of view. Some of them bully by excluding you from a certain group. That is also a form of bullying, where they exclude you from important things. So I think that it is not something that we can decode in an hour or so, because you have to strategically deal with things from a very, very low level. The way you raise your children, the way you treat them to stand up for themselves, the way you tell them what the limitations and the boundaries are for anybody. Just like the way you teach them the good touch and the bad touch, there are certain ways, there are certain lines that need to be taught when the child is also being sent into the cyber world. A very, very young children now, with online classes, screen time has increased. Their homeworks have been put on. There are a lot of children who come to me with anxiety of having to be present online, to show themselves, to answer in front of a group. In classroom, it was a different feeling, but they say that they feel very pressurized when they're in a closed group and their sound and their homework is being, sometimes you have to speak and you're not ready for it. So that, online and screen time and the presence of social media, children getting open to it, being exposed to it, the age group has been coming down. So you really, really need to start cracking on everything as parents, as neighbors, as an adult, you, me, and all of us, people viewing this. If you see a child next to you going through it, if you're a teacher, please pay more attention. If you're a brother or a sister, something like this happening. There are women who have been victims of, there is a celebrity who's again under threat and a victim for this. There are a lot of women who have been targeted as a group. There are a group of people who form and they target certain kind of women, and then money and certain kind of exposure, pictures being sent, and they sort of tap in on their vulnerabilities, and then they've been made use of it. All this is cyberbullying. So there is psychology involved, self-worthiness, there may be comorbidities that they have in their mental health. Mental health is a big, big issue that needs to be taught to people and to create. So awareness, like we create awareness for coronavirus, like we create awareness for all the other kind of crime and social evils. I think cyberbullying is an extremely dangerous thing that everybody, you, me, age, social strata, everything notwithstanding, needs to really stand up to.
Thank you. And I want to come to Dhanya as we move into the concluding part of our session here. Dhanya, fundamental right gives us the right. Our constitution gives us certain rights through fundamental rights to say what we want. So in many ways, saying what we want on a public platform is our right. And if you have a problem with it, you are free to exercise your own right in such expressions. But you have no right to be aggressive and to violate and to abuse what I've written.
Correct.
So,
absolutely correct.
So cyber law has to be reframed in such a way that anything against a person's freedom of speech should become a non-bailable offense. It should be an attack on the Indian or citizens' rights and liberties?
Law reframement is necessary at this point. I don't feel it is actually necessary at this point of time, Mr. Sujil, because I think IT Act per se, if it is being utilized properly, used, every term in it is properly used by everyone, irrespective of who you are, by the common man, by the users of the technology, by the law enforcement authorities, and everybody in general. I think that is, we have an all-inclusive act already. Unless what we have in hand is properly used, there's no point in demanding more to it. That's what I feel.
So you mean to say that is it because our law enforcement agencies are not in a position to interpret the IT law in favor of the victim?
I feel so, yes. They're either not, their inability, it may be their inability or their unwillingness to do so. I would frame it commonly as their they just want to be very careless about it or negligent about it. That's it.
Now, on that note, we come to the end of this chat, and we started off with this discussion asking all of us, is cyberbullying a social evil or a time pass? It is definitely not a time pass. And if somebody feels that, oh, I did it for fun's sake, definitely it reflects on the other person in an absolutely negative way. And mind you, there are laws ready. The laws definitely hold you responsible against such behavior, which are direct infringement of fundamental rights of a citizen, be it young, be it old, be it high, be it the mighty, be it the low and the laity. So on that note, I have come to the end of the session, and thank you so much, Shaarika Menon, noted consulting psychologist and a leading cybercrime investigator, Pattathil, Dhanya, Menon. Thank you so much for being part of conversations and on this interesting subject. And definitely we will follow up on this, and hopefully, those people who keep watching us on this podium will definitely take this home and spread it out. And thank you so much once again. And on that note, viewers, the end of the show, Big Mouth, Sujil Chandra Bose saying bye to you. Thank you.
Bye, Sujil. Okay, Dhanya ma'am, nice meeting you. Bye. Bye, Sujil.